me on. So I'm Ryan. I'll do some introductions in a moment, but this is what we wanted to go through. Hopefully will be of use to you. Some of you might know of us. I think we've worked with some of you on the call already, but we'll tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. I thought it would be useful to share some of the lessons that we've learned specifically about financial education and financial well-being, obviously, but specific to the construction industry, because there are some unique challenges within certain sectors that we've found. I thought it would be interesting and maybe even enjoyable to go through a couple of exercises that we do a lot with the employers and the companies that we work with. So I'll take you through a chance to measure your own financial well-being and put a plan in place to try and take the steps to improve it. If we've got time, we'll take a look at another exercise that we do with kind of leaders and managers at companies to effectively signpost to relevant resources. I'll let you know what's available with us, what the next steps might be, and obviously any time for Q&A, hopefully at the end. But that QR code, again, if you've had a chance to click and scan the QR code, hopefully it's taking you through. If not, you can go to menti.com and type in the code there, 59778621. So hopefully that's working and you can get involved. So who are we? We are FinWELL Training Limited. Effectively, the name's in the title there. We are a training company. I think it's important to understand what we are and what we're not. As you see at the bottom there, we're all about human-based training, trying to help people at the workplace, whether that's in offices or out on site or in depots, wherever their work might be, to build their knowledge, their understanding, and their confidence when it comes to money matters. A quick show of hands. I can't see anyone, so Jenny, I hope you and Stuart can tell me, but hands up if you learnt anything about money at school. So did you learn about, how money works, debt, credit, tax, pensions, mortgages, budgeting, emergency funds, any of that stuff? Did anybody learn all about it at school? Are we getting any hands up, Jenny or Stuart?
We're getting no hands.
Okay.
No hands.
0 hands. That's actually a good start. And it just proves the point. I think the need for this, because we didn't learn the basics at school, is paramount. Add to that, the cost of living crisis, the pandemic, all of that stuff has really lent itself to employers recognizing this is there's a big need for this, but also that it's massively impacted and intrinsically linked to mental health as well. So some of the construction organisations that we've been working with, like I say, some of which are on the call, which is brilliant to see. Really, really important though, we was told or asked when we first started almost 4 years ago by some of our initial clients that we would remain a training organisation and wouldn't have products to sell to their employees, and that's remained the case, and really, really important, because I think there are a lot of sensitivities and stigmas and taboos around getting people to talk about money. So we found out ways to achieve that, but without having to sell any products. We also don't give any financial advice. A big area, a big challenge for employers is they don't want to kind of mix with that and be seen to be promoting products or giving advice either. So we stick to the kind of financial education, the training, the guidance and the support. I'll share some data in this as well. But yeah, a big thing that we're finding is that the lack of financial resilience within all sectors really is a huge area. And we try, as well as a kind of side effect of what we do, to enhance employee benefits for organisations as well. So that's a little bit about it. Our philosophy is all about these 3 steps. We want and have found that people need to evaluate where they're at to start with, so that they can maybe take the steps to improve things for themselves personally. Then they need to have access to the right types of education and in the ways that they want to take on that learning. We all learn in different ways. We all have different needs. lots of elements of neurodiversity now. So getting access to the right education and the right support at the right time is very important. And then possibly the biggest and most important step is that we try to empower people to take action themselves. We don't hold their hand every step of the way. We want to empower people to have that confidence and the knowledge and the understanding to take the next steps. And vitally important for companies is that measuring impact. I spoke to Jennie just before we came on, and gone are the days really where it's just a nice to have, a few workshops, you know, even good feedback from people. Organizations need to be able to track progress, measure impact, and report return on investment, really. So vitally important. Just some of our the ways in which we've developed our services off the back of what employers have asked us to develop. So some of the things there, we will share the slides so you can take a look at these later on. But let's try and get this as interactive as possible to mirror the kind of workshops that we offer to companies. Jennie, if I can come to you first, and everybody, hopefully that's come up on your screen, where you can actually share anonymously a few words possibly of what healthy financial well-being actually means to you. It's quite interesting to see that it does mean different things to different people. But Jennie, if you are there, because I can't see anyone, what does healthy financial well-being mean to you?
To me personally?
Yes.
Oh man. I think it means feeling safe and secure with your finances.
Yeah.
I would say.
I lost you for a little bit there. Sorry, Jennie.
Oh. Is it my sound? Is this headset no better?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Might be this one. Yeah, no, safe and secure. So feeling that, you know, if there's any challenges that I'm not really worrying about it.
Yeah, definitely. Safe and secure comes up absolutely loads. I'm seeing here, hopefully you can see on the screen, peace of mind, feeling in control, family, security, control of money, stability, no debts, worry-free. Yeah, I mean, there's loads of different things. It does mean different things to different people. I think the point that we try and get across right at the start of our work is that, yeah, it means different things to different people, but what it's not, and what a lot of people think it is just your salary, or you know, how much you earn, how much you might have in the bank, your job title. All of these things are not financial well-being. Yes, they can have an influence on it, and it's important to have fair pay and an adequate income to pay bills, etc. But it's a lot more than that. It's about our relationship with money, and the habits and the behaviours and the choices that we make. So thanks for getting involved with that. Just going through some of the challenges that we see across all sectors really, but then specifically in construction as well. As I mentioned, inflation, the rising cost of living is causing an impact. That lack of financial confidence from perhaps not learning the basics at school, huge impact on mental health, and all areas of well-being really. All are intrinsically linked, we believe. But I think when it comes to construction, you know, there'll be people on this call that know the unique challenges in construction, you know, the uncertainty, perhaps volatile income for lots of people self-employed, uncertainty around the next project, or even, you know, payment terms that can cause issues. Lots of people working away from home, which brings with it its own challenges. We've seen it, you know, unhealthy spending habits possibly, and dangers around things like gambling and addiction. So there's a lot of work to be done, I think it's fair to say. Some of the things that we've learned specifically around construction over the last 4 years, you can see here, there's kind of 5. We could have added many more to this, but some of the key ones were that definitely a mixture of online and in-person support is required. More so for the sectors where there are harder to reach non-desk based workforces, such as construction, logistics, transport, sometimes retail, hospitality. But definitely we've seen such an increase in impact when we get onto site, when we offer both in-person and online support and training. So really, really important to have that in-person presence. A mixture of both group workshops, creating that environment, but also one-to-one sessions, again, specifically for construction, has proved really popular. Making whatever support is offered long term and consistent, maybe little and often, rather than trying to do it all in 1 week or 1 month or an awareness campaign, but spreading it over the project has really proved popular as well. Making it project wide, so trying to get buy-in from the whole project. When we first started, we was working with certain subcontractors or certain contractors on site. And we're starting now to actually support a project in its entirety, which has a much more inclusive feel to it, and can help the project as a whole. I think there's a lot to be learned. Obviously, Jenny, the work that we're trying to do together, trying to link financial well-being, mental health, occupational health, other services that are already being provided to that project is really, really important. And then the final one there is just leadership training, not just looking at helping individuals, but trying to get key people on projects on sites, upskilled, a little bit like mental health first aid training or other mental health training, but trying to upskill them, give them the confidence to help themselves first, and then be able to support their colleagues as well. And very similar to mental health training, just it's the basics, right? We're not teaching people or training people to become experts or even advisors to be able to tell people what to do with their money. It's not that. It's really the spotting the signs, having the empathetic conversations, being really effective at signposting to relevant resources that the organisation might already have or that the industry might already have, and then possibly some of the resources that FinWELL are offering as well if we're working with a project. Some of the data.
Ryan, I was just going to chip in a little bit on that one, because I think one of the key things that I've learned from working with you as well, and I know we always come back to culture and things like that, but there's still trying to position it that it's not all about debt problems and money problems, and if you're going to these sessions, you're an issue, and actually trying to turn it into that more proactive conversation, so people recognize that this is might be a real positive thing that you're going to this session, not necessarily about debt. And there's still this assumption that I find trying to introduce the concept that this isn't about crisis, this is about thriving and being the best you can be, which is not the initial reaction that most people have.
Yes, it's not all doom and gloom, we see that. I'm going to show you in a moment the FinWELL or financial wellbeing scale. And yes, there's going to be people at the lower end, they might be having a hard time of it, and they might sort of reflect on these scores and see themselves in the crisis zone for certain areas. But definitely, I think it's just looking at that proactive, preventative approach where we could all probably improve in some areas, whether it's just around different things, different stages of life. And it'll be interesting to see the kind of average scores that people might have to demonstrate exactly that, Jenny. So it's not all doom and gloom, but I think what the biggest challenge we've had is trying to offer support and training to the whole range, to everybody in an organization, and look at all of their needs, because it really is, quite diverse. But yeah, definitely. And any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Hopefully Jenny can pick up on those. But yeah, some of the data and the stats and the research that we have put out there, these are the 5 areas that we measure initially, and I'll take you through this exercise. But the biggest areas really is, you can see, is the confidence levels, but then it is that financial resilience, that kind of having some emergency funds or savings. And then a big one that we do see in construction is the future planning, understanding how to save and invest, how pensions work, how possibly to design a retirement plan that's right for you. So this will all be available to you. We've got lots of reports and guides that are freely available. So I thought it'd be interesting just to take everyone through this exercise of measuring and improving your own financial wellbeing in 4 steps. So again, Jenny, I'll come to you at parts of this if you don't mind, but feel free to get involved and share your scores. It is completely anonymous, like I said. And this was something that we created when we first started, like I say, almost 4 years ago. A lot of our clients wanted this way of measuring where people are at, and then maybe using that data to plan programs dependent on budget, obviously, but depending on what their people actually want and need. So as you mentioned, Jenny, there is a scale here, and people can score themselves. Traffic light system, kind of nearer the 1, 2, and 3 if they are, feeling particularly in crisis, or middle of the road, the surviving area, and then the green is kind of thriving. And our job really is just to try and move people through these different stages. So I'll take you through. The first one is all about your general confidence. So in a moment, I'll let you click on with the QR code and score that. We'll talk about your relationship with money, which I mentioned, which is vitally important for people, because again, Jenny, we was talking before, wasn't we? Some people have money and it's not an issue having the money. It's what they do with it, and not, being educated into, getting into good habits possibly, and the dangers that might come with that. Ability to cover basic living costs, financial resilience, and future plans. So the first one, as I say, feel free to score yourself. This is our general confidence, just when it comes to making decisions with money. So Jenny, what would you say on yours, if you don't mind sharing?
I'm going to put myself in the middle, because it's probably safer. Do you know what? I feel confident in day-to-day life, and it's the future planning bit that I don't necessarily feel as confident with. I've had pension advice and spoken about things like that, but I probably haven't really understood it enough to know, how good am I going to be in that situation. So yes, I'll bang myself right in the middle.
In the middle, no worries. No, and again, as you can see here, most people will be in the middle, but there will be some people that feel that this is just an area that they need to work on. Some people will find that absolutely this is fine, this is not an area that's a problem for them. But yeah, thank you for getting involved with that one. The next one is all about your relationship with money, and this is probably my favorite one, if I can have a favorite, because it's interesting to know that we all do have a relationship with money, very similar to our mental health. And I don't know if anybody has seen the adverts for certain banks that rhyme with Barclays, but there are other banks that are available. But our relationship with money is ingrained in us by a certain age, and that age is 7. And it comes down to various factors, whether there was money available when we was growing up, whether our parents and guardians talked about money openly, possibly not, whether it was a cause for stress and anxiety in the household, our parents or guardians' relationship with money themselves. All of this has an impact on our own relationship with money. And it's quite fascinating to look at the psychology of this. So again, if you've got a chance, do give yourself a score out of 10 with regards to your relationship with money. And make a note of it as well. If you can, just jot your scores down, because you'll be able to add them up and see your total score at the end. But Jenny, what would you say on this one?
I'm going to be really boring and go in the middle again, but I think I think we were chatting before, Ryan. I was definitely brought up where we didn't have much, but also there was always this, right, we can't spend money on this, we can't spend money on that. And is positive in some ways, because it's I suppose set me up to budget and plan and make sure that I'm spending money on the right ways. But it causes me more anxiety, because I now think, right, well, have I got enough money for this? Or should I be spending money on that? And sometimes I don't get the enjoyment factor of spending money on the things that I like. But yeah, I think that definitely gets easier as you get older and you become more stable and secure. So yeah, the anxiety, I do have anxiety about money quite regularly.
Yeah, me too. I have, and about making decisions as well around money. But I think it's that balancing act, right? That healthy point is somewhere in the middle, maybe, because we don't want to, not spend as well. That's not healthy. Having lots of money and not wanting to spend any of it is just as unhealthy as the other end of the spectrum. So yeah, thank you for getting involved with that one, and thank you, Jenny, for sharing. This is quite straightforward.
Just sorry, Ryan. Jacqueline just put a comment in to say, yes, we were conditioned to focus on money, get a mortgage, save money, work, and work. Which I definitely can relate to that.
Like robots, and yes. We're not all AI yet, and I'm sure Stuart will have an opinion on that. But while we're still human, it's more than that. So thank you. This one is quite black and white, and I'm sure we would all want and like more money, but this is about just having the confidence to be able to get through each month, you know, covering those basic bills, which is not easy, right? Things have got harder because of cost of living and mortgage rates, interest rates. But how do you feel about just getting through the month? This is one that we measure for all employees. We've done this with thousands of employees globally now. But how do you feel about the basics, just getting through the basic costs? Jennie?
I'm going to score myself low on this one because I'm going to move house in a couple of months, and my bills are probably going to double. I'm in a nice little rental property at the moment, which has been lovely. But at the moment, I think things are going to be tight. I've got to make some changes to have the house that I wanted, which is a nice problem to have. But and
that shows you as well, right, that it doesn't stay constant. Life changes, your circumstances change, and your scores might change as well. So yeah, it's definitely worth to sort of revisit this at different times in your life. But yeah, thank you for that. Thanks for those getting involved. We'll share all this data as well with you, and obviously the averages, just so you can see it. The next one then, financial resilience. As I said, this is a key area of focus for the government. It's in their financial wellbeing strategy and also in ours as well. So this is where we see a lot of people scoring quite low. Basically, before maybe scoring yourself on this one, if I was to say, well, how much is needed, you know, what equates to good financial resilience? If we was to look at your monthly outgoings, you know, your committed monthly outgoings, if you was to work that out, so that be, you know, your mortgage, rent, basic bills, direct debits that you have to pay, travel, work-related costs, work that out on a monthly basis. And the guide really is that if you can have between 3 and 6 months worth of that amount, then you're in a relatively healthy position. Now, don't worry if you're not. If you're not, you're in the majority, because most people haven't. And this is a big issue. This is why we're working with a lot of credit unions, community banks around workplace saving schemes, big focus for us this year. And trying to help people just get that basic emergency fund, because emergencies do come up. You know, the unexpected does come up more often than you think. It's funny how, if you have that money, I know there was a time a little while ago where I had to have a certain amount set aside. Nothing happened, like everything was hunky-dory. But as soon as COVID came, my wife started a counselling course. Outgoings were starting to creep up and income was going down, and I set up FinWELL. That's when everything went wrong. You know, the boiler went, the car went, everything pretty much went all at the same time. So it's just trying to get people into good habits and have that good foundation of some savings, not set aside necessarily for holidays or different things. That's separate savings. But financial resilience is really having some money set aside for the emergencies and being able to sleep at night, I suppose. So thank you for getting involved with that one. And then the final one, again, which we see lower scores on, is the confidence you have in your future, your financial future. So this is things like knowing how much you might need to retire in this day and age. You know, what sort of income might you need to achieve the desired lifestyle that you might have, how to use money to invest, to make money work harder for you, possibly, to understand how investing works, how pensions work, how annual allowances that we're all given to try and encourage us to invest money, how does that actually work, and how does it boost possibly our future and our future plans? So Jennie, how do you feel about that one?
Well, that's definitely where I score lowest on. I think even just keeping up with the government's changes in tax and all sorts of things like that, you start thinking, right, well, what is the best way to save money these days, and what should you need? I think sometimes my mind always goes to, what am I going to leave my daughter when I go, which is probably, you know, I also need to think about probably the 20 years before that, where I'm going to be potentially a burden on her, and I've got to pay for care or whatever. So it's very difficult to focus so far ahead when you're trying to work out what you need to do right this very moment in time as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, you can see from the scores here, you know, there's no one so far that's put themselves in that thriving bracket, and we see that all the time. They're normally in the one of the other two, to be honest. And you mentioned there, future plans can also bring up protection, so whether it's wills, the stats are just awful with the amount of people that haven't got something in place or haven't renewed or reviewed it in at least a year or 2 years. So a big area of focus that we see, and specifically for construction as well. So thank you for those getting involved with that one. So what you should have now is 5 scores out of 10, basically. I'm not going to ask you to share these. This is just for your own kind of amusement, really, or to self-reflect on. But if you add them all up, you should have a score out of 50. And if you just double that, then you can get your score out of 100. So you've got kind of each of the elements, each of the 5 elements where you know what you might need to work on, and then an overall score that hopefully you can maybe remeasure in 3, 6, 12 months time or whatever, and see some improvement if you take action. All I would say on this is don't get too hung up on the scores. It is just a benchmark. It is just a starting point. And like anything, there is definitely the opportunity to improve this, and lots of support that's out there. So that's that part. So that's the P in power plan. Sorry, I should have probably explained that. So we call this your power plan, and the PAWA are the 4 steps. So we spell it incorrectly on purpose just because it worked 4 years ago and we haven't changed it. So that's the personal money score, the P in power. The A is all about then understanding what your areas of focus are. And I mentioned this was a massive challenge for us because within any organization, any sector, you're going to have teams of people of all different ages, all different life stages, family situations. So it's important to kind of break it down and understand what you need to focus on. So again, I'll talk you through these and give you a chance to kind of choose what one they might be. You see, we've got this kind of life cycle as people go through. They're all important. It's important to state that, but it's quite hard to focus on everything all at once. It can get a little bit overwhelming. So yeah, we start with basic money management and work our way through the property ladder. So just quickly, sorry, money management can be the things like getting budgeting plans in place, getting some money management skills, looking at debt, getting some plans in place to cover that, building that emergency fund and the financial resilience, looking at spending habits and how you spend your money. All of that can come under money management. It could be then that your focus is the property ladder. You mentioned it yourself, Jenny. For a lot of people, especially the younger generations, they're trying, if at all possible, to get onto the property ladder, and that's not easy, definitely at the moment. But it can also be moving up the property ladder, looking at remortgaging, getting off the property ladder even. So if that's an area of focus, you might want to choose that one. We mentioned protecting what's important, so especially when you have families and children, understanding how to protect your income, how to protect your family's future, things like wills, understanding your employee benefits and what you have in place with the company that you're at is really, really important. Might be an area of focus for you. It could be investing in your future. So if you do have some spare money that you can put towards something, it's understanding the basics and the annual allowances that we're all given. Or it could be modern retirement planning. So you might be in the latter stages of your career and looking at how to boost your pension pots, how to maximize contributions from your employer or the government in tax relief, how to access that money and really put a plan in place. So again, there's an option that we do this exercise with all employees and leadership teams. What would be your area of focus? So the idea really just to try and choose one at this stage. But while maybe you're having a chance to do that, Jenny, what would be your first one, would you think?
You're muted, Jenny.
Thank you. Retirement planning, I think.
Yeah. Good stuff. It is for
maybe I should be thinking a bit sooner than going into retirement planning, but then I do want to retire in the next 20 years. That would be nice, ambitious.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah. So
well, you know what we found as well is that by just having the area of focus and establishing it, one that improves your financial well-being, having a bit of a plan of attack, and then starting to take action can improve things. So it's not kind of knowing you're definitely going to achieve that in 5, 10, 20 years time in your example, but just having the plans in place and having a bit of an eye on it and a focus can massively improve that. But interesting, yeah, look how many people have put retirement planning. Maybe it's just a demographic on this call, but it does come out as one of the main ones. Excellent.
What does it come out in construction though, Ryan? When you do them on site, what's the most common ones? Is it similar, or do you find?
Yeah, it's similar across the board. So definitely just general investing and retirement planning is the main one, but then money management, right? So the financial resilience piece is probably as big. So yeah, money management with financial resilience, and then investing and future planning. They come out as the key ones. And it's in that report. I'll definitely make sure that we can share it with everyone. So once you've got your personal money scores, you've got your areas of focus, what you need to then think about is maybe what are the next steps for you. And this is really, really important. A big exercise that we do with companies is to explain the difference between financial education, financial guidance, and financial advice. So my previous life was in the advice world. I did all of my exams. Justine who's our head of training, has over 30 years working in the banking sector and in mortgages, in training positions. So advice is really, really important, but not everybody might need advice or be ready for it. They might just need, access to educational content to build their knowledge, their understanding, their confidence. They might need guidance. So things like this, group settings, more interactive, where they can share some information and then be guided or signposted to relevant resources. Might be on a group basis or a one-to-one basis, or some people, once they understand what it is, may well need financial advice and need to know where to go to get that. And as I said, we don't offer that as a company. We stick to financial education and guidance. The advice side will be where you would share more information about your personal circumstances, and you'll be going to professional advisors, regulated advisors that can give written recommendations and usually charge for their services, and usually have products in mind that match your needs and help you achieve what you want to achieve. So again, feel free to share what your next step might be. What do you think, Jen? What do you think your next step would be out of the three?
Well, I have actually started working with a financial advisor. It's an expense. It's not a cheap process to go through, but the thought being that actually it will be better in the long run. So it's finding the cash up front. But I think so. The first kind of they're doing like a review of all my finances, which was £500. So it's quite a lot of money to be putting into it when you're trying to save. But I'm hoping the output for it would be right. I don't know if that's a good amount of money, or if that's the going rate these days for this type of stuff.
Yeah, well, it's I'm sure that you'll get a good result out of it. I think it's just important to know the options, I suppose, and one of the organisations or resources that we happily signpost to is unbiased.co.uk. So we'll talk about that in a moment, but if you are looking for any type of advice on the financial side, feel free to take a look at unbiased.co.uk. It's a bit like a Checker Trader type organisation. It's been around for years and years and years, but you can put your postcode into it and find local advisors, look at all their testimonials and feedback, and normally be able to arrange an initial call at no cost, and then have it explained, what the process might be for them. So that's one as well for organisations. If you want to keep yourself protected and not be seen to promote or endorse or recommend any regulated company, you can signpost to Unbiased. So thank you for getting involved with that one. So that's the W. The final A then is just all about taking action. Probably the most important. There's no point doing all the steps before if you don't actually do something. So taking action is not easy. The two top tips that we give are, firstly, to set aside some time for this. I'm terrible. If I don't put something in the diary, it just won't happen. So much so that my wife puts things in my diary to make sure it happens. So just scheduling some time, whether it's after work, at lunchtime, the weekend, whenever it might be, just putting it in the diary so you can forget about it then until that comes around. Make sure you remember to do it, set an alarm or a notification, but set aside some time. And the second thing is to try and buddy up with someone else if you can. If you've got a family member, a partner, work colleague, friend, whoever it might be, to try and do it with someone else, because it shares the burden a little bit. It keeps the conversations going, it keeps accountability, and it will help hopefully both of you to actually do something and achieve what you want to achieve. So finally on this, I just thought it would be interesting, really important for the companies that we work with, that they start to see what the goals are, what the outcomes are, what people actually need to do, and then try and track, is it being done? You know, how are we moving the needle really? So I'll give you all the opportunity. I'll talk you through these, but you might want to choose up to 3. Hopefully you can choose more than one, what your goals might be, what your 3 top things might be, that if you was to achieve them, you definitely feel in a better place. So a lot of people actually want to start looking at their credit scores and their credit file. For a lot of people, we see that. Getting on top of debt. So if there are some spiraling or niggling debts that you want to get on top of, making sure you've got a plan in place of how to do that can really help your financial well-being. A lot of people looking to get a better budgeting plan in place. Haven't done it here today, but we do on other sessions where we ask people how they budget, and you'd be surprised how many people don't at all, or the extent of it is just checking their balance, hoping that there's some in there. And I've been guilty of that as well. So a lot of people want to get on top of that. Building that emergency fund, like I mentioned, is a big goal for a lot of people. Starting short-term savings and getting some savings habits is a great one. Some people exploring investing options is the next step for them. We talked about wills. Reviewing annual insurances, making sure you're protected and your family are protected, making the most of any employee benefits that your company might have is a good one. Massive one when it comes to pensions. A lot of people haven't even logged into their pension account, whether it's a workplace pension or a personal one. But so many people haven't nominated pension beneficiaries. So that is pretty much just who will get the pension should you pass away or anything bad happen to yourself. So really, really important, especially if your circumstances have changed with marriage or things like that, to nominate who your beneficiaries might be. So again, you can pick that one if it's of interest. Yeah, you can see a whole range of different things, but yeah, reviewing the pension and the retirement plan seems to be the biggest one, which is interesting to see. Okay,
I know Ryan, you just reminded me, because when John delivered this at one of my client sites, that was the big thing that everyone took away, was like nominating people in your pensions. And there was lots of people, and I'm going to put my hand up, me included, realizing that probably my ex-husband is still the beneficiary of my pension. So need to get on that one. No,
we don't want that, Jenny, do we? No.
Does it get if no one's nominated, or the wrong people are nominated, will it still go to them even if there's scenarios like that?
Was someone else going to jump in?
I think I might have been Stuart, actually. That you, Stuart?
If no one's nominated, it gets lost. It's done, I think.
No, well,
or depending on the pension from the from your provider.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If you haven't nominated beneficiaries, but you've got a will in place, that can sort it out. And the bottom line really is that if something bad like that happens, it can then go into probate, which can be a long drawn out process. So the people that actually need the money or to be able to access that can't get hold of it until they've gone through it. Plus they'd be dealing with any extra stress that's come about from that. So I would just say to try and get it sorted. It's literally one form and can, again, hopefully improve your financial wellbeing scores. I can see a hand that's cast. Stuart, is that
it? Yeah. It's why I originally put the hand up. What I found interesting, and again, with comments in the chat here, I think this might be a case of a time of life and getting your finances in order, and certainly pensions and what have you. But about 3 years ago, I merged all my pensions and my wife's pensions into to be looked after by one company. And what was alarming was the amount of pensions that we had, B, that there wasn't a beneficiary nominated, but bring them all together, how that could help. But recently, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Jenny, recently, but recently I got a letter from a pension company to give me an annual statement on 3 pensions I knew nothing about. I don't know where they came from. And when I obviously advanced this letter to my the companies looking after our pensions, these pensions were taken out in 1992 and had accumulated such a huge amount, but they were potentially lost. And I don't know how that company found, it was Aviva, and I don't know how they found me, because I've moved 11 times since, and this was the first time they got in touch with me. So I think, I suppose the point of the story is moving company, you generally find you're leaving a pension pot behind, and it just sits there to a degree it can accumulate, but it's kind of scary to think that amount of money, I don't know where that money would have gone to, and it's accumulated to 50k, and I've done nothing. I haven't put into it. I didn't even put into it in the first place. I don't know where it came from. But I guess the point I'm trying to make there is to control those time. It's every job you've been in, have you contributed to a pension? And even if you didn't think you did, the chances are you might have done.
Yeah, there's billions sat in unclaimed pensions, and the one thing everyone on the call can take a look at and share with people they know is the pension tracing service. So on gov.uk, it doesn't cost anything. Don't pay anyone to do it for you. They can just find the information. It takes a little bit of legwork, but go on the pension tracing service. Be careful when you Google it that you go down to the official government website, because there's usually sponsored ads above that. But something that is coming, some encouraging news, there's something called the pensions dashboard that's coming in that employers will have access to, where it will be able to show you all the pensions that you've been paying into throughout your career, and then try and do something with them. Maybe put them into one pension, or put them into the workplace pension, auto enrollment pension, whatever. So lots of work to do, but it is getting better. But brilliant. Thank you, Stuart, for that. Just conscious of time, and I want to hopefully have a bit of time at the end for any questions or debate or discussion. But yeah, when it comes to effective signposting, this is kind of another key area as part of our champion training and leadership training, that there's some brilliant stuff out there, and there's some great stuff in the construction industry as well. But it's about effectively signposting to it at the right time for the right people. So we know Mates in Mind, we know the Lighthouse charity, there's other resources through the People's Pension now that have got their roots in construction. So really important to make yourself aware of these organisations and charities. As a quick exercise, I thought I'd do this. We do this in our financial wellbeing awareness training, and also our champion training, but a lot of people have never heard of some of these. So I'll just put it out there. I'm going to put you on the spot again, Jenny and Stuart, sorry. But I've mentioned Unbiased, you know a little bit about them. But where would you go, do you think, to look at what benefits you are entitled to, whether you're employed or unemployed? Where do you think you would go to look at what you're entitled to? Any ideas, Stuart or Jenny?
Martin Lewis, he seems to be the font of all knowledge that guides me through my decision making with finances.
He's the trusted advisor, isn't he?
He drives me mad though. I can't stand his program, but yeah, they often do give you some useful suggestions.
Yeah.
Any advances on that, Stuart?
Well, to be fair, it's who I know. Obviously, I know Martin Lewis. I've heard of, obviously, through work and other organisations, I've heard of Step Change, and I'm aware of Step Change. Money Helper sounds as if that would be the obvious.
Sounds logical.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean to say it is.
Yeah, well, it's actually number 2, so you're both wrong, I'm afraid.
Right.
Money saving expert Martin Lewis is brilliant. These are 6 are kind of the main ones that we signpost to with a lot of our work, so I won't go through all of them. But yeah, turn to us if you take a look at that. great one for looking at what benefits people can actually get and that don't know about. Again, I think it's close to 20 million that goes unclaimed every year in benefits that we are actually entitled to through the taxes that we pay. The only other one that I will highlight is step change. If you remember nothing else but step change from this call, it will be worthwhile. They are a charity that help people stop the stress and anxiety that comes with debt. They can get in touch on your behalf to speak with the people you owe money to and stop the bills coming through, put plans in place, consolidate debts. So yeah, massively brilliant organisation Step Change are. And again, even if you don't need it yourself, knowing about Step Change and some of the positive stories that where they've helped people can be massively impactful. So I just thought that would be a useful exercise to quickly do.
Sorry, Ryan, just a quick one. What about
on,
Laura said about Citizens Advice Bureau? I know that they often have quite good tools, don't they, for like budgeting and things on their website.
Yeah.
But I don't know how useful they are as a to contact.
Yeah. Again, I've just picked 6 here. There's an extensive list that we share. There's Citizens Advice Bureau, which is fantastic. There's Christians Against Poverty. There's a whole range, some that are specifically focused on financial well-being, some obviously on the mental health side. There's Money and Mental Health that links the two as a charity. So I would say for any organisation, start to build up your library of free resources, which we try and help companies with as well. But it's important not to just get a list of websites, start to understand what they actually do and start to be able to tell stories of how they've positively helped people. That's what's going to get real engagement in those resources and actual impact. Again, just conscious of time, we're really delighted. We started this year. We was asked to create some unique dedicated training for apprentices, and I know this is massive in construction. We piloted this last year. We had a lot of construction companies involved with some of their apprentices that attended our training, like some Skanska, Sir Robert McAlpine, Bovis, a number of different organisations. We've now partnered with the Association of Apprentices and the Apprenticeship Ambassador Network, and we're offering a number of free places to their members. But it's something that we think we can have a positive impact for future generations and long-term impact with this work. It doesn't mean we're forgetting about the older generations or people that aren't apprentices, but we are having a massive focus on this. So I'd love to talk to anybody, let you know about some of the free places that are available as well. Some of the other free stuff that we can offer, there's a number of different resources that you can get access to, guides, reports, data, research. If you go onto our website and look at the /FAQ, hopefully there's some useful things there for you. And yeah, just next steps for us, if you're interested, I suppose, in finding out more, finding out what we're doing in construction, getting involved to spread the word, I suppose, and get more construction companies and projects on board. We would love to hear from you. So that's that. I'm going to try and unshare so I can actually see people and not just looking at my screen. But over to you, Jenny.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I mean, I know obviously we've been working together on a few bits. I think my biggest challenge with a lot of this is that longer term program perspective, like getting the budget and people set up to engage with services on a regular basis, not just for 1 week or 1 day, and trying to understand what that looks like. So I think I don't think it's hard to get projects to buy into it. It's just putting the resources aside to make it happen. Equally, like probably with most wellbeing things, if we want offering one-to-one sessions, people need to be able to give them the time to attend the one-to-one sessions, and actually that's often a barrier. I know there's Stuart said about the apprenticeship stuff, which we were talking about before we come on the call, and just saying how important that is. Just one, to start that conversation where perhaps the need might be greater at that age, but also then how that filters into the wider projects, etc.
Yeah, and I think we just found the biggest challenge for companies is probably similar to where we were 5, maybe even 10 years ago with mental health. companies don't really know where to start. They know kind of they need to do something. They know it's important. We're kind of preaching to the converted a little bit, but it's where to start. Budgets are not easy to come by, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
They want to have a low risk, low cost way to start this, work out what works, and then build upon it. So I completely get it. It's not easy to just go out and do something. It needs to work and be effective.
Yeah. I know we've only got a few minutes left, Ryan. So I think if anyone got any kind of last thoughts or questions, I know there's lots of people feeling supportive of it. I know we'll share your details again and a copy of the slides if anyone wants to see that. But yeah, they can get in touch with you if they want to know a bit more. Are you doing your financial wellbeing week again this year? Is that happening, or month, isn't it? Do you do a month?
A week just isn't long enough, is it, Jenny? Yeah, and again, it's you spoke about it. You know, I've got a love-hate relationship with awareness campaigns. I like them more now because I just realised for a lot of people it might be the first step to looking at these things. And it could be the biggest step. But yeah, so Financial Wellbeing Month is a campaign that we created to link financial wellbeing, mental health, and suicide prevention for all workplaces. There's loads of free training in the lead up to and including April. So feel free to have a look at that. You can all sign up for free, get access to it all. And it's just on our website. So you can go FinWELL Training /financial wellbeing month. It's a bit of a mouthful.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ryan. I'm sure we can add that into the email as well. Stuart's final point from Stuart.
To ask a question.
Go for it.
Ryan, in your, you may or may not have seen this, but in your sort of experience in doing this, have you seen an attitude change towards money and work? Maybe not pointing a finger at all, but maybe from a younger generation. And what I mean by that is, you know, we talk about Generation Z a lot, and these are people who are around about 25, 26 in the workplace. And their attitude to work is different to my attitude to work when I was their age. Coming back to what I think somebody put on the chat there, it was when I started working, my parents said, get your qualifications, then you go and work, you save for a deposit, you get a mortgage, and then you work for the next 25 years to pay that mortgage off. And therefore, if work is crap, you still go to work because you have that responsibility of paying your mortgage. And I'm looking at some of the attitudes of our younger generation saying, I'm not putting up with the crap at work these days. I'm going to go and do something else, or I'm not going to work at all because the financial burden potentially isn't there. So I was just wondering if that was coming through in some of your, your insights and learnings as to work, money, well-being, is it interlinked? I think it is, clearly, but it's that kind of piece around, are we now forcing a different agenda because money is not as is not the goal, is not the be all and end all for some people?
In answer to your question, in a word, yes, massively. I think the behaviours, the outlook of the next generations is completely different, and it's really important to understand what they are, because value is placed on different things. Ownership, less so. We was maybe always brought, get on the housing property, you've got to own this, you've got to own that. Cars, you've got to own them. Very, very, very different. I think there's a better understanding, encouragingly, of the next generation on what financial wellbeing is, and that it's not just how much you earn. I think there's a danger, and that's not across the board. They've got additional challenges like social media, where there's the culture of comparison we talk about.
Tech bros,
and just sort of, there was news today yesterday about the Beckhams, and that whole looking great on the outside is not always the case. So I think there's a lot of work to be done, but massive different challenges and changes and outlooks for different generations, and important for employers to know what the triggers are and what they are for different people.
Thank you.
I'm conscious it's 12 o'clock, so probably didn't have probably more questions we could have asked, but I don't want to keep anyone longer than they need to. So thanks everyone for joining us. I've just put a couple of notes in the chat about next month's meeting. We're going to have a bit of a different format. We had some feedback to try and make it a bit more interactive, so we're having a bit more of a debate, and I've got some other guests come in. So we're going to test this format to see how it works, but we're going to do another one later in the year. So please do come along and get involved. Equally, if anyone is also interested, Stuart's doing some free psychosocial risk management sessions. So we're kind of seeing this need around ISO 45003 and doing more about the prevention side of mental health. So if anyone wants to know anything more or be interested in having a session, please get in touch and we can send over some of the details. We've had some good feedback to date so far. So thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate it. I know we've got obviously your contact details, so we can forward those on if anyone wants to get involved to reach out to us, and we'll put you in touch with Ryan. But have a lovely rest of your month, and we will see you in February.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Jennie. Thanks all.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.